on how to assemble your Horus glider. We're going to assume that you're pulling it out of the box out at the field and ready to start assemble pre-flight. You have the basic fuselage arrangement here. The nose cone's already in place, but it's a very straightforward approach to just install 4 screws, Allen screws. There's already a captured nut plate on the back side, so we won't waste any time on that one. Let's start with the wings. We have a joiner rod that we insert into the main joiner tube hole. Push it in about halfway. We'll grab the correct wing. And we'll insert the joiner rod there. And put up some access here. We have our wires that will be that handle the servos and the airspeed sensor and the nav lights out at the end. We're going to stub those through the wiring hole. And before we close out and before we insert the drag spar, we're going to take the harness and we're going to insert one loop through the drag spar and then insert it. I'll have more on the harness itself in a minute. And we'll pull this in. Notice that there's a hole here for the screw, which I will find underneath here. There's a screw that we're able to put into place from the inside. There we go. And we'll push it in a little bit more and finger tight it. It only needs to be finger tight. We don't need to crush anything. There's not much force involved in holding the wing on for flight. All we're doing is keeping it from sliding off of the rod, which takes very little force to do that. So just finger snug is good enough. There we go. Do the same with the other wing. Again, feed the wires through. These wires are actually only not completely finished and based on the autopilot that somebody else is going to install. Get the rod started. Feed this through. And again, the drag spar. Now here's where I was going to mention more about the harness. 2 of the loops will have black marks on them. They indicate that these loops are about a 1/2 inch shorter than the back loops. The 1/2 inch shorter loops go towards the front, and they go around these fender washers. You can snug that up a little bit more. That one will go over there, and again the longer loop will go to the back. And the purpose of 2 different length loops is under parachute we want the nose to have a bit of a nose up attitude, or at least level attitude, so it comes down as a pancake instead of coming down nose down. It tends to want to come down nose down. And we'll put that in. Same screw arrangement. If you can see my hand, this is underneath the avionics deck. And just finger snug. Again, we'll snug these up a little bit more with a wrench after the fact, but there's your harness arrangement. This one's not on yet. And that's what we're looking to achieve. Again, the lines with the 2 black marks on them are the front ones. And they will be a little shorter, so that when you lift this up, well, there's a large heavy weight in the nose here, but it will want to fly in this position here with the parachute. Next up is the tail. We have the tail assembly here. And let me go get the rest of it, but here's the tail assembly. And we have the string melt wires in place here. And what we'll do is we'll insert the tube, or the wire, the balloon tether string. And what we have for that is we have a tail cone guide tube with a piece of fuel line here, and the purpose of the fuel line is to avoid any chance of chafing while it's up on being tethered by the balloon. So what we do here is we let gravity, if gravity's our friend today, we let gravity feed this down. Feed that all the way in till it comes out the bottom, and it does. Then we will insert the tail cone, and it's a really nice snug fit. And in order to secure that a little better, we'll take some tape. And tape is all that's proven to be necessary to hold this thing down. We'll take some tape here. And you can put one wind or two winds, whatever you like. For the interest of time, we'll just do one small wrap. But that's enough to hold it in place during its flight. And one more item. This is the tricky part and the not so fun part. We'll take. We have two coils in here. So this is the front coil. There's another one about an inch behind it. You can just make out there. And I have found that it's easiest to take a pair of hemostats, and I have a long pair. I have a couple of different pairs, and I will feed them through from the backside through the loop and pull them toward me. Thus, and then the second loop is much easier to get through. Okay. Okay. Now you can see that it's through both loops. All right. Next, we're going to slide the entire assembly into the tail. Don't leave this out too far out, otherwise it can get hung up trying to get it through the tubes. You feed it through the tube. There's a tube mechanism here and another one up front. Push the detent pin down, the snap lock, and in a moment you'll see it come into play and it will click. And there it is, clicked. Make sure that it's clicked fully or in position, and it's in the full up position like it is now. Out here you'll see that the tube has been fed through, and I could show you this, but my hands will be in the way so much. What you end up wanting to do on the anchor tube, which is the tube that's right here, is you're going to want to tie a knot. And the single knot that I use, the simple knot that I use, is nothing more than a clove hitch. It's a very common knot. And it goes something like this. You run it through to the outside, you run it through to the outside again, and back through on itself. And snug that up tight. And then I do one more half hitch, so you end up kind of forming a square knot on the top. And that is enough to give you your anchor. Get it, pull it tight, and that makes for a good sturdy knot. And that's what it would look like in here. Okay. Next coming up is the parachute tub. After you've connected all of your avionics, which is not part of this video, but after you connect all of your wires to your avionics and everything is good in this compartment, make sure you have a clean compartment down here, and we will drop this parachute tub in. current method is to secure the tub with just nothing more than tape. It's worked fine for me. I believe that Noah is going to want to do a screwed down version of it, but for the time being, this is the way I'm doing it. I've done a lot of flight tests and balloon release or parachute releases and had no problems with it this way. It doesn't have a tendency to want to pull out. And I have seen it kind of lift out an inch or two under speed, but this seems to work just fine. Next, we take our parachute assembly that was packed in the same method as a previous video, and we secure it to here, to our harness ring. And for that I just use I use a bowline knot, bowline. If you know the mnemonic using the rabbit going around the tree, that's fine. Okay, that is also not going anywhere. And we are packing all of this harness material. I think also that this was even covered in the parachute packing video. We pull it down like so in a nice neat package. Push this down, close the hatch, and secure the servo arm. And make sure that the arm is not past center. Is centered or halfway past center or short of center is good. Final packing for pre-flight is again just some tape to secure these lines down. It doesn't take a lot, just enough to hold these in place. And I'll pull it tight and nice and streamlined like that. The tension of the parachute opening will pull these the tape off, and it will come down as a 4-point harness. There we go. Okay. Last but not least is the connection to the tail feathers with the link rods. We have these little ball links here that are already they should be preset to be neutral, but they have a little spring release on them, and there's a little ball and socket that looks kind of like a trailer ball, a trailer hitch ball, and you rotate that in till it's in place, and then there's a catch right there that locks it into place. The same on the other side. And upon power up, the linkage should be set. Let me rotate this until it does click into place. There it is. Now it is in the locked position. To remove this, it's as simple as pulling the spring back with your thumb and releasing it. And you put it back in, and it's the same. We have found that this thing is pretty well set to fly with the tail horizontal at startup. Requiring very little trim. That's all there is to it from this point. You're going to attach this to your balloon tether. The balloon tether, I believe, has a swivel on it, and again a bowline knot is adequate to hold that. That's it. Thank you for watching.